Hi, my name is Taraya, and I will be defending the Anapophora glaber, better known as the Asian longhorn beetle.
Howdy, my name is Ulysses, and I'll be defending the Diaphorina citrus species, more commonly known as the Asian citrus illid. The topic of this debate is which would be the better invading species.
I believe the Asian longhorn beetle is the better invading species. It closely resembles many other insects, so they are very hard to identify. They range in length from 1 to 1.5 inches. Adults have shiny black exoskeletons with white spots and super long black and white antennas that are about the same length as their bodies. They also are known to have a whitish blue upper leg area. The larvae and eggs of this species don't even have a distinct look. Just like many other beetles, their larvae are long and milky in appearance and are soft in texture, while their eggs resemble a grain of rice. These insects easily create a colony in any woody species they desire. Indentions are chewed into trees by females of the species to start the process of infesting the tree. They then lay an egg into each indention they create. After a couple of weeks, larvae emerge from the eggs and inhabit inside the tree, but not all larvae will emerge so quickly. Depending on the colony's needs and size, some eggs are laid with different pheromones. These different pheromones allow the eggs to hatch many different times of the year, so eggs laid together won't necessarily hatch at the same time. The larvae start out by feeding on living tissue from inside of the bark and eventually, after several weeks, burrow their way into the woody tree tissue. While the pupal stage only ranges from 13 to 24 days, it takes about a year for adult beetles to appear. Once they do appear, they'll eat the tree's bark and leaves until it's time for them to mate and produce eggs. The cycle continues until the tree has nothing left for them to eat. Once the beetles begin to attack a tree, there is no saving it. These beetles destroy the tree from the inside out, so by the time physical damage is noticeable, it's too late. The only thing that can be done is for the tree to be quarantined to stop it from spreading from other trees or being put out of its misery by chopping it down.
The Asian citrus illid is the better invading species between them and the Asian longhorn beetle. Adults are between 3 and 4 millimeters long, marked with brown spots throughout their body, and their head is a light brown color. Their forewing is the longest in the apical half, also marked with spots and a brown band extending throughout their outer wing. Their antennae have black tips alongside two small light brown spots in the middle segments. The They are covered with what resembles a white waxy secretion, which in turn gives them the appearance of being dusty. They like to lay their eggs on tips of growing shoots on and between open leaves. The eggs are about zero point 0.3 millimeters long. They look extended, resemble the shape of an almond, and are thicker at the base. When eggs are first laid, they are pale in color but turn into a yellow color through time, and again change to orange color when the egg is close to hatching. Females lay the egg on plant tissue alongside the long axis vertical in the surface. The female can lay up to 800 eggs in their lifetime. In the nymph stage, the nymphs pass through five instars. During the first instar, or the first instar, they are about 0.25 millimeters long, while at the last, or the fifth instar, they are between 1.5 and 1.7 millimeters long. The nymphs have a color that looks like a mix between yellow and orange. The nymphs do not have spots on its abdomen, and their wing pads are quite big. They also have thread-like substances that are restricted in the apical plate of the abdomen. Usually, the total life cycle for them are between 15 and 47 days, but may also depend on the season. They may live up to several months, and their development is not obstructed by unfavorable environmental conditions such as winter. However, populations do turn to be low in the winter because it's a dry season. They may have up to 16 generations to a year, but generally it's 9 to 10. Nymphs are always found on new growth. They move in a slow, steady way if they are disturbed. On the other hand, adults leap when they are disturbed and can fly a short distance. Adults are more than likely to be found in large numbers on the lower side of leaves. Their heads are almost at a 30-degree angle and always touching the leaves. The more growth there is on citrus leaves, the more active these species is going to be. Unlike many other kinds of psyllids, the Asian citrus psyllid does not create pits or gouts on the leaves. The Asian citrus psyllids communicate through vibration using the trees and their wings.
The Asian citrus psyllid is easily distinguished from other nymphs on plants, and therefore cannot be the best invading species. Asian longhorn beetles, on the other hand, have many closely related species that resemble them. The cottonwood borer and the white-spotted sawyer are among the lookalikes. Cottonwood borers are black and white, just like the Asian longhorn beetle, but instead of having small white spots, their spots are much larger. The antennas of the cottonwood borer are about the same length as its body, but unlike the Asian longhorn beetles, theirs are all black. White-spotted sawyers are all black with one white spot at the top of their wings. From afar or not looking very closely, both could be mistaken as Asian longhorn beetles. Trouble differentiating these lookalike species from the real Asian longhorn beetles makes identifying attacks that much harder and gives more time for colonies to thrive and spread.
Although the Asian citrus psyllid may be easily distinguished from other nymphs on plants, they can invade trees as early as their fourth instar in the nymph stage. By invading, I mean that they can start infesting or transmitting diseases to the leaves of the tree. The disease I'm talking about would be the Huang Longbing or the HOB, and reports have shown and suggest that they are an imminent threat for the citrus industry in the Eastern Hemisphere if not handled properly. There is no saving the tree after being infected. There is no cure. These infected trees produce bitter fruit, hard fruit, and or lopsided fruit. The tree always ends up dying as well.
While the Asian citrus psyllid can start their invasions quickly, they can only infect citrus plants. Asian longhorn beetles, on the other hand, can infest many different types of woody species and are not limited to a specific kind. They are extremely diverse when it comes to host selection. They can inhabit anything ranging from trees and communities to trees in forests. Maples, willows, elms, birches, and sycamore trees are among some of the host trees for the Asian longhorn beetle. The list does not stop at just those specific kinds. They are able to migrate almost anywhere, so any woody species is a potential host to these beetles. Hosts for this species are totally unrelated, and being woody is virtually the only thing they have in common.
Although the Asian citrus psyllid only infests citrus trees or leaves, they are very good at doing so. The adults are usually always in groups of in large numbers on one tree at a time. They feed for a long period of time too. So since they're always in a large number, since they're always in a large group, they're able to transmit the disease to the entire tree, and nothing can be done about it. The tree will then start greening. Going back to nymphs, the nymphs will feed on these same trees for their source of food, and the pathogen will be transmitted inside of them. They will keep eating other parts of other trees and infect them as well. The cycle is never ending.
The Asian longhorn beetle is the more effective invader. Since it looks so similar to other insects, it's difficult to tell them apart. These insects can easily establish a colony in any woody plant. Invasions start by chewing indentions into trees to begin the process of infesting the wood. After that, eggs are put inside the holes they create. Larvae emerge from the eggs and settle within the tree. The larvae feed on living tissue from inside of the bark and gradually burrow into the woody tree tissue after several weeks. Adult beetles don't emerge for about a year after the pupal stage is complete. They can infest woody species of all types, unlike the Asian citrus psyllid that only affects citrus plants. On top of that, The Asian longhorn beetle has an abundance of similar species that makes the identification process very difficult and prolongs the process of eradication. Trees invaded cannot be helped once these beetles have attacked them. Early identification only helps stop the spread to other trees. These beetles are so good at invasion that research that includes them is to aid in their eradication. Scientists study them to determine their behavior, life cycle, growth rate, etc. They are important to study because as of right now, nothing is able to stop them.
The Asian citrus psyllid are important to study because they could destroy the citrus industry and can cause millions of dollars in collateral damage in that respective economy, since they are able to invade the citrus trees so well. Reports have also shown that the Asian citrus psyllid can be controlled effectively with a wide range of modern insecticides. This means that the Asian citrus psyllid can only be controlled using a large amount of insecticides that scientists have researched on for the past 10 years. Um, and the biggest one disease they can transmit is the HLB, as I talked about before. And this disease can be transmitted to the trees 100% if the adults start feeding on them for at least 1 hour, and that's all it takes for the tree to be infested, and nothing can be done to help that tree. Going back to the nymph stage, the nymphs can infest the trees too, starting on the fourth instar. And that's why I believe the Asian citrus psyllid is the better invading species between them and the Asian longhorn beetle.